Formula One is changing. 2021 will see one of the biggest set of rule changes in the sport's history. No mean feat given how many times the sport has changed and adapted since its inaugural season back in 1950. The changes are all designed to create closer, fairer, and more exciting racing.
Might squeeze through on the inside now!
Where the smaller teams can upset the odds and drivers can make the difference.
And he sails past.
2021 F1 cars will have a radical new design philosophy and striking new look, with sweeping bodywork and larger tyres with 18-inch rims. Though aesthetics were a major consideration, these changes aren't just cosmetic. Over several years, both Formula One and the FIA have been working tirelessly to design cars that can follow one another and race more closely without losing downforce. The present generation loses around 40 to 50% of downforce when following in another car's wake, known as dirty air, making overtaking difficult. But for 2021, this drops to around 10%, with airflow coming off the new cars cleaner and directed higher in order to have significantly less impact on drivers following, meaning the racing should be better than ever. To achieve this, elements of the car, like the front wing and suspension, are being simplified, while major changes to the rear end, floor, and the adding of wheel wake control devices to the lower profile tyres will all contribute to the creation of better racing. There are other big changes to the technical and sporting regulations too. Car upgrades over race weekends will be limited, reducing the development arms race in preparation for a Grand Prix. There will also be the introduction of certain standardized parts and increased restrictions on the number of times some components, like brake pads, can be replaced. These changes aren't about making the cars faster, but reducing the gap between the front and back of the grid, and thus creating better, closer, and more sustainable racing. And the most efficient power units on the planet that have made significant contributions to hybrid technology around the world will remain unchanged. For the first time ever, Formula One will introduce spending restrictions to make the sport fairer. A cost cap will be set at $175 million per team, per year, and applies to anything that covers on-track performance, but excludes marketing costs, the salaries of drivers, and the top 3 personnel at any team. This should reduce the gap between larger teams and those with smaller budgets, stopping the big boys spending huge amounts of money on design and development in order to gain a competitive advantage and make the sport more economically sustainable. Significantly, the cost cap has been written into the official regulations and an independent regulator appointed to oversee team compliance. Potential penalties, both financial and sporting, could be applied in the event of any failure to comply with the new rules. Some of these will be trialled in 2020, but not enforced. There will also be significant changes to the race weekend structure, which will be condensed in order to improve the fan experience and help teams deal with an expanded calendar. The pre-race press conference will now be held on Friday, ahead of the first and second practice sessions. And all teams must run at least 2 sessions during the year using drivers who've completed 2 Grand Prix or fewer, giving more chance for the next generation to shine. These regulations mark the start of a new era in Formula One, aiming to further improve the greatest racing spectacle on the planet for all fans around the world, by letting the fastest drivers and cars race harder and closer than ever before.